Oh, yeah. Well, one of them is Aroldis Chapman accepted his 30-day suspension for his role in an alleged domestic violence case. He issued an apology in a press conference held on Wednesday. I have to take responsibility for it and basically move on. I want to take this opportunity. I want this to be clear. I'm apologizing because of the use of the gun. It was a bad judgment on my part, but I also want to say that I would never hurt my girlfriend. I want to be very clear. I am taking this punishment because of my bad judgment. It's something that I definitely want to put behind me and move on. Yeah, I can't stand him. So
we'll go into Aroldis Chapman a little bit. I mean, this guy, he like defected from Cuba, which a power move, I would have to say. Interesting. And hands down, I would say in terms of closers in the MLB right now is probably the best closer. If you look at it, I mean, he tops out at 101 miles per hour. I mean, the guy's got a cannon. So actually I saw him in Cincinnati, and it's just he's got a lot of hype behind him.
He does.
And then and that was the big offseason move for the Yankees was to sign him while the investigation was going on about what happened with him and his girlfriend. And certainly this can definitely segue into the topic of professional athletes and getting away with domestic violence and abuse, which I think is it's ridiculous. One of the worst examples was, especially it happens in the NFL all the time.
Oh yeah.
Is Greg Hardy, who played on the Panthers, got just absolutely destroyed his girlfriend and threw her on the couch on guns. It was awful, horrendous things to this poor girl. And what happens? And it can go back all the way to Kobe. I mean, they just and they settle, and it never really comes to light about the awful things that happen. No. It's not cool.
I mean, especially when you think about it, Ray Rice's situation.
Ray Rice, that's another one. Yeah, I mean, that's New Rochelle.
Yeah, that video was horrible. And especially because, in the article that I read, it was, he said that, she looked through his phone, found something she didn't like. He allegedly choked her and then took his gun and fired eight shots into his detached garage.
Yeah.
And then the police report said that one of the bullets went straight through the window, and then they found it in an open field.
Wow. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even think 30 games is enough. I would say at least half the season. And I think you look at and that's the thing is Ray Rice. I mean, when that Ray Rice thing happened for the first, it was like he got like a 2-game suspension, and then Goodell, he made it a 4-game suspension. And then and then it finally got to the point when the video released. It's like, okay, now we're gonna ban him for the season. Or for whatever that is.
Most people that beat up their girlfriends go to prison.
Right. Exactly. And that's just, it's complete, baloney. It really is. And they have all this money. They hire the best lawyers they can possibly get, and they win, or they settle, and they go on. I mean, you look at Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather has, was hands down probably the most paid boxer, the most famous boxer in the boxing game right now. He's had 7 different cases with 7 different women of abuse. It's ridiculous. He should be in jail for 10 years for the amount of times. It's wrong. It's completely. It just gets me. It really gets me going because it's not fair. I mean, I did a project about like abuse and how it goes and how they just get away with anything. They live above the law, and it's wrong. It's completely wrong.
It's definitely wrong. And so
just like the politicians.
Yeah. Well, and then they said he will probably lose $1.8 million with him taking his suspension, which for him, that's nothing.
Yeah. What was the signing contract with the Yankees? Probably like
$11.325 million.
So I think.
Are you kidding me?
I think he'll be okay.
Yeah, I think he's gonna be fine. The Yankees said at the moment Andrew Miller will be their closer until he gets back May 9th.
Yeah, see, the Yankees they already have closers.
They have 3.
That's who the New York Yankees are. They get players who they don't need. One of my favorite moves is when they got Ichiro. I don't know, why do they need Ichiro? I did not get that in the slightest bit. They had a full outfield. That's the other thing. That's who the Yankees are.
Carlos Beltran.
Yep, that's
don't understand that move either. I mean, you have short they just who did they? I think they got Starlin Castro. Really?
No, they Didi Gregorius.
They got him.
Well, no, that makes sense because you need to replace Jeter. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, he's
I think he's going to do good things. He's got big shoes to fill.
Yeah, well, that's true. Going into another really big case for sports, Erin Andrews has a $75 million court case, which is pretty big. She's
Yeah.
suing Marriott for $75 million over allegedly giving Michael David Barrett, the stalker who stalked her in 2008 ish, her room number and giving him the room next door. Then he took some sort of saw, cut out the peephole, and videotaped her walking around her hotel room, and then posted it all over the internet. And she says she still lives with fear, and she's hired private security and the countless therapy sessions. Like her father took the stand I think last week, and he was hysterically crying. Her therapist took the stand last week. She took it this week and hysterically broke down, especially talking about relationships that she's had. And when her and Jared Stoll are together, he plays for the Minnesota Wild. He's
Okay.
a hockey player. And she said it was really difficult trying to tell him what had happened.
Mhm.
And she said it's difficult for him to understand. And one of the things that broke my heart when she said this is he would have loved the girl before this even more.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which she shouldn't have to live in fear. But like she said, when she goes and she's the Fox #1 reporter
Right.
for football, and she has a routine. She makes sure they change her room to a different room than she was already had,
Wow.
and then
I didn't know that.
Mhm.
then she checks every light, every surface
Yeah,
area, and
That's too
then
bad.
puts stuff over the peephole and any like holes that she finds so nobody can look in.
Mhm.
And she shouldn't have to live like that.
But the other problem is, I'd be shocked if she got the full $75 million because no one cares. You saw how the Kesha case went. She got nothing. The guy got indicted.
Yeah.
People
It was
don't care about
also-
cases like
And
this.
it was a long time ago too. I mean, you talk
Yeah.
about 2008. Boy, I thought that was like I thought it feels like it was like 2006 when that happened. Like
Mhm.
it was one of those things that was huge in the sports world because Erin Andrews was like really probably one of the first big female sports commentators.
Yeah.
Very attractive, very good looking, and for this to happen. And then she just completely disappeared for like a year or a year and a half.
Yeah, I know she took some time off. Then
And left ESPN and that whole thing, and I know now she's back, but I mean that was like huge for that to happen to her. So yeah,
I did a report on Oralcom about her and she said she took time off just because she just didn't feel that she could, handle everything, and she just wanted to hide. And then that's why she did Dancing with the Stars in season 10, because she just felt like, you know what, at this point I can't hide anymore. I need to just get myself back out there. And then her and ESPN parted ways. It was because she took a Reebok deal, an endorsement deal, and they weren't too happy about that one. So
I think it was also probably to get out of the image because when that happened, I
Yeah.
think that was a big thing. Is like it's like it kind of brought it with her. Go do something. Go do work for another entertainment for sports. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of move on from it,
And-
then that's what she did.
And she's done very, very well at
Yeah,
Fox.
she's back where she used to be. So.
Exactly. And then it was announced today by Ian Rappaport that Peyton Manning will have a physical tomorrow per his contract, and he has to communicate for Denver to see if he's available to keep playing or not.
So, I mean, here's the thing with Peyton Manning. And Peyton, right now, if you're listening, I'm directly talking to you. Retire. Please. Don't play. Retire. It's over. You go out in a shade of glory with the sun, ride out as a cowboy on the steel horse I ride. Okay, go out. Why? Why is he still I really don't get with the whole. Now listen, this goes back for me. It's, the whole Al Jazeera thing. Oh, Peyton Manning did steroids and Peyton Manning took HGH. That's stop, ridiculous. Peyton Manning is a world class athlete. He is a role model. Probably he's the upper restaurant. Al Jazeera. I don't even think they're a company anymore. Anyway. I mean, listen. He had a rough last season for sure. I mean, he threw a lot of interceptions. I mean, he had the injury. I mean, he had a horrible QBR, horrible. But he came back. I think it was like week. I know that last it was like week 16, week 17.
Yeah.
When he came back and he led that comeback against the Chargers. And that's why you're like, okay, well, Payne's gonna be a starting quarterback. And he's gonna carry them through the playoffs. And that's what he did it. I mean, if you want to, if thank somebody, thank the Broncos defense. They keep
Yeah.
Talib and all the homies. I mean, they absolutely, they carried them, for sure.
They did.
They're, hands. I mean, and that was, I would say, if you go, horrible Super Bowl, but from a fan's perspective. But if you look at it, probably one of the best defensive Super Bowls in history, hands down.
Definitely.
So, I mean, if he comes back,
he
Peyton, if you're
can't.
listening again, don't
Please,
do it. I'm telling
please
you not
don't.
to. But if you do,
He can't climb any higher. In all honesty.
yeah, I mean, I think he just wants to have a stellar last season, and he's old. He's an old.
He's turning 40 this March.
Right,
This month he's turning 40.
And you look at how long quarterbacks last in the league. I mean, yes, quarterback is probably one of the oldest positions, but after a while, I mean, they take hits and hits and hits, and it just gets to you.
Exactly.
It's a brutal sport to play.
And that's why most guys are retiring at 25, 26. So
So, Peyton, hang up the cleats, take the trophy. It's been a great run.
well, I think that's all we have for today.
If I could, I'd love to give a quick shout out to
Go
my
ahead.
homie repping at Southern Connecticut State who's listening for me right now, Greg Gagliardi, the big dog, the truth, and the covenant. Is always repping, is always listening to his boy. So thank you, Greg. You are the realist. And
Thank you for coming on this week.
it was
Yes,
an
thank
honor.
you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. I love the radio. I think I should start continuing to do this. It's fun. So, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
welcome.
It's been a great experience. I'm going to reflect on this for about an hour now and think about it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. We'll be back at the same time next week. Have a good week.